dead or in jail.
And then I've been shot in the head.
As well, come through.
Yeah, I'm a convicted killer, yeah. I'm sure anyone that's got a target on their back are most likely real gangsters. Like when I had a target on my back, I didn't like it at all. I was very paranoid.
You'd think wiping out an entire family like the Hamsies would calm things down, but not in this war. When you take out someone, there's always another crew to fill their place.
The Ahmed family has long been a big crime family in Sydney. Big time involved in the drug market, and in the middle of the 2010s they're involved in a pretty heated war. There's a shootout at a garage in Condell Park, and in the aftermath, Brownie, who is there and who is involved in the killing, goes overseas. And just after he goes overseas, his brother Wally is killed. Brownie, he comes back from Lebanon and says, I was there, but Wally pulled the trigger. Now Wally's dead. So Brownie gets charged with manslaughter and gets 7 years. So we're here at Rushcutters Bay Park, right on the edge of Sydney City in the affluent eastern suburbs, and it's at this location late last year that there was an assassination attempt planned for Brownie Ahmed. Long been a massive figure in Sydney's underworld, and he was planning to bring his children here. He hadn't seen them in a while after spending 5 years in jail, and so he was going to come for a visit on a busy Saturday afternoon, but he got a call. Police knew he was planning to come here, and they said there's intelligence that there's a potential assassination planned at this exact location for him. So he listened to their advice, he stayed away and prevented what could have been a massive disaster in a very public park on a weekend afternoon. Brownie Ahmed had long been a man with a target on his back. He'd had that incident at Rushcutters Bay, and numerous other times police had knocked on his door and warned him about threats. But on the night of April 4, he came to this two-storey home at the end of Narelle Crescent in Greenacre to visit his friend Ahmed Bannat, and when he left, gunmen were waiting outside, shot him dead in a hail of bullets. First people on the scene were almost ironically the Raptor squad who had been responsible for warning him about some of those threats. They were patrolling the areas nearby and tried to perform CPR but couldn't, and he died in the middle of the road. He'd been going rogue kind of in the months before he was killed, carrying out extortions. Even though we had said there is a bounty on his head, and there's been, I'd written a story about the plans to kill him at Rushcutters Bay, it's still a shock when it happens. No, it surprised me. It surprised me because he's a big player. He always has been. So to take out Brownie, that's a big move on whoever did it. He was very well connected. I wouldn't say, from my understanding, necessarily liked. The problem with guys like Brownie is they only have to stand over the wrong person, and that creates the conflict. But the other scenarios that always present are people in other criminal syndicates take advantage of the current warring factions between the Hamsies and Alameins and try and lay the shooting off on that syndicate. Greed is what is driving the current gang warfare, right? It underpins everything within organised crime. It's money and power.
Rami Iskander could not be saved. a 23-year-old carpenter, a young father of two, and the nephew of a slain gangster.
One of the most shocking acts in this gang war that I've seen was when there were bullets fired that actually went into a childcare centre by mistake. When footage emerges of children nearly being killed at a childcare centre, the cops reacted pretty quickly. They had to stop this war. They swooped on the Alameddine clan, and their number one target was Masood Zakaria. The cops arrive at Masood Zakaria's house, but he's nowhere to be seen. Everything's gone, even his clothing.
This is what used to be the home of Masood Zakaria, the right-hand man of Rafat Alameddine.
And considered to be the driving force and organiser behind most of the murders, really, wasn't he? There was raids that were throughout the Alameddine camp to be all carried out that morning.
Yep.
They lobbed here. Four of the main players were missing. The big question here is Masood Zakaria was facing a 25 years to potentially life. He is missing, and from what I've been told, and I think Josh the same thing, he had cleaned out all his gear. He was gone. He was obviously well aware that there was an arrest warrant out for him, and that's a real concern for the police. There are numerous ways things leak, or as you say, just premonition,
Totally.
and that can happen.
So we're just leaving the Auburn cop shop, just in the convoy of police cars at the minute. They knock on the door of a young bloke who's linked to the KVT. Well, police allege it's been the muscle really for the Alameddine clan ever since they kind of rose to prominence. And this guy in particular apparently has a bit of an attitude problem. It's the time, it's just about to go 6 o'clock, so I think we'll see if he's home and he gets an early wake up.
Sit on the bed here.
I'll let you know everything's been recording.
I'm looking down.
The New South Wales Police Force dismantled an entire drug syndicate here in our state.
I'm confident that we've cut the head off the snake. The entire syndicate has been arrested, including high-ranking members of that syndicate. Some of them were operating phones which we allege were generating more than $250,000 a week in illicit drug sales.
Is that these phones have been in the possession of the Alameddine organised crime network for a number of years. A number of criminal groups have attempted to take those phones or take control of those phone numbers. And as a result, we believe, and we will allege in a later time, that there has been a number of murders in regards to these phones.
Very, very young bloke has been charged with some, I would say, minor offences on 0.96 grams of cocaine with a very, very long-winded fact sheet about allegations tying him to, organised crime, which there's no links on the evidence. So the magistrate saw that and granted him bail. Look, I don't think he's the head of the snake at all. I mean, he's 22 years of age and charged with something very, very minor, so I don't think he's the head of the snake at all. Thank you.
You must be pretty happy with that result.
Yeah, I think it's the right outcome. Yeah, it's a good outcome. The right decision.
You represent a lot of the men who've been arrested in the past 24 hours.
I do. Along with many other people.
Yeah. What do you make of the allegations about the Organised Crime Network?
I think they're quite bold, and I think they're very serious. I don't necessarily agree with them, but I won't comment on police work. That's for them.
Look, the status is that it has been escalating, and it was escalating during my time. We increased the size of Strikeforce Raptor and put a substantive commander in charge. And I think there's always going to be a tough response to organised crime. But the reality is that we've always managed to win when we've fought fire with fire.
These wars are never over. Old scores have been settled for murders that we've probably forgotten about, but they haven't. This is proven by the latest killing of Yusuf Nazlioglu, probably for the murder of Mick Howie in 2018.
I was in jail a long time, bro. I haven't got a bone left in me that's desires a gangster life. They still think I'm a fucking nomad leader. I was on the fucking floor here, cuffed, and I said, what the fuck is going on? He goes, you know what your boys did? I go, what do you hear? He goes, mate, your boys attacked police. I said, what fucking boys? He goes, the nomads. I said, get the fuck out of here. You think I'm a nomad? They go, we know. You're pulling the strings of the nomads. Do you want to know why the streets are the way they are? Because the police haven't got a fucking clue what's going on the streets. If I'm getting raided, there and there I thought to myself, these streets, it's very dangerous now. When I see on the news a man in his 20s being murdered, I think, fuck, imagine his dad. Wonder what kind of father he's got. Is his dad gonna fuck? What would he do? I can't put myself in their predicament, but I can. If my son was killed, I don't know what I even fucking. It even makes me think about the person I was convicted of killing. How it is these days. It's very dangerous now. It's not fun to be a gangster anymore.